Hello, Malavika Mohanan, and welcome to Film Companion South.
Thank you so much. Happy to
So,
be here. Huge fan of Film Companion.
thank you. And so, I'm known as this very, very serious reviewer, and I have to uphold that reputation. So, I'm going to begin with a very, very, very serious question. What is this love that you and Dhanush share for Maggie noodles?
So I had I've never really met Dhanush before this or spent time with, and by this I mean the film that we're working on. So D43. So I've never really hung out with him before. So this was my first introduction to him as a person, as a friend in every capacity. And through the course of the 1 month that we shot in Hyderabad, we just realized we had so many things in common. So many of these little idiosyncrasies, so many of these quirks, like for instance, both of us have a habit of watching the sitcom Friends whenever we're eating. So no matter like all like I'll watch like new films, I'll catch up on all the new stuff that's come out on Amazon, Netflix. But when I'm eating, I want comfort watch. So I'm playing Friends. And once the whole thing is over, once I'm done with all the seasons, I'll come back to season one and I'll start. And my friends or my family, they obviously find it a waste of time. They're like, why are you doing the same thing over and over? And I'm like, this is literally the only thing I'm doing it with. Like otherwise I'm trying to like catch up on world cinema, French cinema, what's new in Malayalam, all of that. But this is my me time. And then I realized he does the same thing. He was like, I can't eat without watching Friends. I was like, what? I never thought I would meet somebody who would do the exact same thing. So we have that in common. We have both of us love Maggie, and Dhanush was on a very disciplined diet while we were shooting for the film because he was working out, so he was trying to eat healthy. So he was off Maggie, and on set, like I would be binging once in a while, and he would just look at me with disgust. He would be like, "You are doing this in front of me." So we're both Leos, and we had a lot of just generally, we sort of vibed well. We got each other really well. So
Does that
yeah.
happen? I mean, I know there are a lot of people who say things like, "I'm a Taurus and you're a Sagittarian and we can't get together." Do you kind of, is that something that's worked for you in general? You found that to be true?
Uh, I mean, I'm a Leo, so the fact that he's a Leo and I find him pretty cool. It's just convenient, right? To say that
Okay.
he's cool because he's a Leo. But
Okay.
otherwise, no, I don't really follow it.
Okay.
I
All right.
don't. If you tell me something about a Capricorn and Aquarius, I'll be lost. I have no idea about their tendencies.
Right. So
Just like
Vijay is this and Ajit is that and this. So Malavika, will she get along? So we'll have to make complicated Linda
no,
Goodman
I
charts.
am not into it that much and all. I'm
Okay.
not
Okay.
into
So
it that much.
all right.
It's very surface level.
Okay. So you can you tell us a little bit about what you're playing in this movie, or is it all like hush hush?
I mean, you know how Tamil cinema works. It is pretty hush hush.
I think
Uh,
I think we know what Dhanush is playing, which is this investigative journalist kind of person.
um, have they spoken about it? I'm not
Yeah,
aware.
Karthik's spoken about it, and I think it's out.
Okay,
All
yeah.
right.
So
No, but if you don't want to
he,
say, let's.
I mean, I don't think they've spoken anything about my character, so I don't think it'll be right on my part to say it. It'll be a boo boo.
Right. So how do you like working in mainstream cinema? It's its own little beast, right? How do you like working in mainstream cinema? What's it like?
I think it's taken me so many years to, and I would actually say it in present continuous tense. I'm still figuring out my grounding or where I fit in when it comes to mainstream cinema because Indian film industry has such a large diversity.
Right.
Like the rules, the spoken and the unspoken rules of Malayalam cinema is so different from Tamil, is so different from Telugu, Hindi.
Right.
So it like for I'll give you an example. For instance, as a mainstream female actor in Malayalam cinema, you can do the role completely looking like the character. If you're playing a nurse, you can completely look like the part. Whereas if you go to Telugu cinema, even if you're playing a nurse or even if you're playing somebody down, like from the lower strata of the society, they still have makeup on. You're
Yeah.
supposed to look pretty, conventionally pretty in some form. You're dolled up
Yeah.
even within that space. And then you
Yeah.
end up standing out from the rest of the people around you because you're not blending in. Whereas that doesn't happen when it comes to Malayalam. There are so many frames, like for instance, like Parvati is a close friend.
Right.
And so there are, like, off the top of my head, like there are some scenes in Uyere that she'd done where, like, there are shots of her like standing with a group of people, and it takes a couple of seconds to locate where she is,
Right.
because she's blending in
Right.
so much and she's looking so real. The rules are so different, right? And also, as a female actor, jumping from one industry to the other, you're it's like starting over. You're getting acquainted with the do's, don't do's, what what works, what doesn't work. So it's a process. I'm
It's a
still figuring
process.
it out.
Right. Now, your father is this cinematographer, K.U. Mohanan, and please tell him when you meet him next that I'm a huge, huge fan, especially of the work that he did for Asham Aluwalia's Miss Lovely. I mean, it is one of the most magical films I've seen. So please tell him that. But what was it like growing up in a film household? Is it like, was he the kind of person who would follow you around and keep taking pictures of you all the time? So you got used to the camera and therefore now I'm comfortable with the camera. Is that the psychological story behind your presence everywhere?
Firstly, thank you on his behalf. I will. He'll be very pleased to. He's sitting in the living room. So after the interview is done, I'll go and tell him that this is what you said. And
Right.
he doesn't express much verbally, but then he'll like take a deep breath, and he'll be like he'll be happy about it. His body language will be different for a while. So that's when I know that, okay, he's pleased. Something's made him happy. I do absolutely not. In fact, there is one thing that my mother and I keep complaining to him all the time, that you don't take our pictures. So he doesn't, I'm not even exaggerating, he doesn't take our photographs. So he used to take a lot of pictures when we were babies, when me and I have a younger brother, he's 5 years younger to me. When we were kids, he used to take pictures all the time. And back then he had the film camera. It was before digital came into the picture.
Right.
And we have so many beautiful photographs of our childhood days. And I think somewhere along the line, I think after we grew up a little, he lost interest. He was like, they're not as cute anymore. I mean, what else can it be? I don't know. I think when things got digital, it became like, whatever pictures he took, we never bothered printing it out. So now my mom and we joke to him all the time. We are like, oh, like he'll only take pictures of Priyanka Chopra and Katrina Kaif. Then he's doing films with them. My mom used to keep joking that, we'll have to be actresses for your father to take photos of us now.
But you are an actress now.
It's not changed. This was back in the day. This was back in the day when I was a teenager. But it's not changed even now. He doesn't take pictures of me much. So I never had that.
So you wanted to be a cinematographer or a director at some point until Mammootty came by, saw you and said that, okay, listen, will you do a film opposite Dulquer, kind of? That's the general thing about how you got into the film, right?
I was going through a phase where I had no idea what I wanted to do work-wise. And I think a lot of people go through that at that age, right?
Right.
You're in you're doing your graduation and you don't know if you want to go ahead. I was studying advertising, mass media advertising, and I don't know what I wanted to do within that. Like, did I want to go join an ad agency? I never. Halfway into learning advertising, I realized that I don't want to sell stuff. Like, I don't want to make up lies and make up these campaigns and sell stuff to people that they don't need. Or even if they need it, it's just like a bunch of lies. So I don't want to do that. So I started thinking of what are the other creative streams that I can possibly pursue. So I thought of films, and I sort of stayed away from thinking or saying that I wanted to pursue cinematography back then, because it seemed like the obvious choice, right?
Right.
Oh, her dad's a cinematographer. So, I mean, it wasn't so much what other people would say. I think it was more of that I was averse to the idea because I didn't want to seem like I was blindly following his footsteps. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I think we have a rebellious streak within us when we're, late teens and early 20s. But I did want to study cinema, and I applied to FTII. And I remember sitting with my mom and deciding which one to tick mark. Did I want to study direction, sound, editing, cinematography? And I was like, I'm not so sure about direction and I'm not sure about sound. But and I've always loved the visual medium.
Right.
I've always loved taking photographs more than writing or seeing films. I mean, I enjoy reading too, but films move me in a way that very few things do. So I was tempted to pursue that as well. And then my mom was like, study editing, it might be fun. And just on a whim, I ticked editing. And now when I think, I was like, what is wrong with me? I had no aptitude. I mean, I never experimented to know if I had any aptitude, but it was too random to do.
Right, but I'll tell you what, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but then you could have edited back all those shots of Master that were removed from the film.
I
That's
know.
what you could have done.
I when I saw the deleted scenes, when I saw the film, I was like, where is this scene? This one scene um where my character sees that Vijay is fighting for. I don't know
Yeah.
if I should call him Vijay or Vijay, sir. He prefers me calling him Vijay.
Then go with Vijay, that's fine.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
prefers calling me Vijay,
Yeah.
calling him Vijay. So I'm going to go with Vijay. So Vijay was where I see that he's standing up for this girl, and that's why I'm like, hey, let's send him to the juvenile prison. He seems like a great guy. Let's forge his signature. So it was a random jump in the story that. Like why she randomly putting a sign, what is wrong with her,
Right.
and it does impact how people perceive the character also. The writing absolutely impacts
Yeah.
how they look at the character, how they look at you. It's also interconnected, no?
Yeah.
So yeah, I do wish I could put it back. I know Lokesh also, after I saw the film, Lokesh, and we are like we've become really good friends, and we come from the same generation. He's not like some 45, 50, 60-year-old
Thank
who's
you so
like,
much.
I have to be like, so. I don't have to do that. I can just pick up the phone and be like, Lokesh, what did you do? And he was like, Malavika, the film had become so long, So yeah, I mean, it would have been nice to have that scene, but it wasn't my call.
Yeah, it was my call. Yeah. In general, so when Mammootty did this and you got the role opposite Dulquer in Pattam Pole, what is it like? Is it like, let's just try it out? Are you a planner, or are you somebody who just says, let's go with the flow?
Um, I think the career that I've been in has made me a very going with the flow kind of person.
Okay.
Because it's impossible to plan anything in this career. How do I plan that, this is the director I'm going to be working with next, or this is the movie I'm going to be doing with next. So much of our choices are because of the opportunities we've gotten, which have come our way. It could be either way, like they could have come to us, or we could have been pursuing them and it's worked out. But it's very tough to plan. So nothing said, it was all going with the flow kind of thing. But had Mammootty sir not sort of, if he'd not been so instrumental in casting me in that film, then I don't think I would have pursued acting, or done these rounds of auditions. Like, I don't think the idea would have occurred to me by itself.
You did auditions with Dulquer?
No, I didn't do auditions with Dulquer. I just they wanted me to just shoot a few. It was a little abstract. The director wanted me to just talk about my hometown, or my childhood, and he wanted somebody to shoot that while I'm speaking it. So it wasn't an audition, but it was sort of a look test. They wanted to see what I look like on video, on moving image, basically. So it was something like that. So that's all. That's what I did for Pattam Pole, and that's how it started from there.
So what the experience of working on Pattam Pole with Dulquer, like, was it like, did that make you fall instantly in love with cinema and acting, or was it like, did it just like take a couple of more movies?
I really enjoyed the process, and a lot of it was because of the experience I had working on that film. It was a really good team. Dulquer was absolutely amazing to work with. He's such a fun, sweet, friendly co-actor to have. And that's him as a person. And even the director, Alagappan, even he was, he became like family by the end of it. The whole crew became like family. And I wouldn't say that for every movie. There are movies I've gone, I've done, I've come back home and not really had much personal relationships there. So a lot of me enjoying working on that project was because of that, because of the people. When it came to the work, I think it took me a long time to figure out how to perform. How to perform in a certain way. Like, there are actors I've seen who've been so wonderful and so natural in the first film itself that they've done, That's just talent that you're born with. I don't feel like, I feel like I've had to work on it more and more. And every film, every director that I've worked with has contributed to me learning so much more about it.
Do you enjoy sharing your life on social media? Because you're on Insta a lot, you're on Twitter a lot. Do you kind of, because I always, have this thing about how does one decide that they're giving away too much of their lives or themselves versus protecting some core of themselves for themselves? So,
I don't feel like I give away too much of my personal life
okay.
on on social media. I use Twitter very occasionally. I don't use it much because um, it's more of a I don't have I don't want to actually have a lot of opinions. It's just that I don't want to voice them all the time because
Right.
actors just end up getting targeted so often for having any sort of political opinions, for supporting a particular political party, or most things, most social issues, everything. Um, and like I said, I'm more of a visual person, so I end up using Instagram a lot more often. And most of it is work related. I look at Instagram as now it's become such a crucial part of our branding tool as
Yes.
an actor. You can of course like choose not to be on Instagram and just let your work speak for you. And there are people who do that. There's no right or wrong. But in today's world, Instagram has become your portfolio. It's become a way to reach out to people and saying, hey, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And you must have seen my movies, but this is who I am in real life. Like these are my hobbies. And what makes people connect to you at the end of the day is what they feel like they have in common with you.
Right. Right.
So there are so many people who've reached out to me who are like, hey, like you're reading this book, even we're gonna like try it out, or I really like wildlife a lot, and I end up writing or posting about wildlife. I end up posting photographs that I've taken. So it gives more of a it's a great place to just show who you are. But having said that, I don't speak about my personal life too much. I don't post too much about my parents. Not that I can't. It's just I want to, like keep a little bit for myself. I want to keep my personal life. I don't post anything about who I'm dating or anything about my love life, anything about my parents. I keep that aside. But I post more about who I am, or like photo shoots I've done for magazines or film promotions and things like that.
Right. Right. One of the sweetest things that I saw was your. You seem thrilled at being on the cover of Griha Lakshmi after like a series of international magazines or national magazines. Suddenly, there is this Malayalam magazine that your family had grown up with, and you were on the cover, and that was like this big thing for you. So that was very
It was,
sweet.
it was. I don't look at anything. I was as excited about Griha Lakshmi as I was about being on the cover of Vogue.
Yeah.
For me, it's not like, oh, Vogue is cooler than this. I,
Right.
I
Right.
don't come from
Right.
that
Right.
school of thought. I feel like also being on the cover of Griha Lakshmi was a very aspirational thing because while growing up, I always saw Vanita and Griha Lakshmi, which are two of the largest
Yeah.
magazines in Kerala and two of the highest circulated magazines in India, which is not a small feat. And I saw it in my house all the time because my parents are very rooted to the Malayali culture. So even though I grew up in Bombay, I grew up completely in sync with what's happening in Kerala and what's cool there.
Right.
So for me to see my face on a magazine that I've grown up seeing was it was great.
Right, right. So you spoke of hobbies. Was it like you're a big reader? I'm assuming because I saw a picture of yours with Woody Allen's Without Feathers.
Yeah.
You're,
Yes.
you're
I put up a picture last lockdown
yeah, yeah, yeah,
around this time.
yeah. So that kind of I'm just trying to pick your brain a bit. What do you think about this whole thing about the art is different from the artist? Because I know a lot of people who would not like go near Woody Allen or anything that he does. I'm not one of them because I have a clear distinction between the art and the artist. But I was just curious about whether you have a distinction like that, when it comes to people like that.
I actually do. I have a very strong distinction that um, you said that you feel that you can't separate the art and the artist. That's what you feel.
No, I can separate. The
You
artist different
can.
from the artist. Yes.
Okay. I can't do that.
Okay.
I can't do that. For me, I feel like for instance, I really love Meryl Streep. Now, why do I love her? I love her because I've seen all her movies. I think she's a fantastic performer. I don't know her personally. I haven't sat down and had dinner conversations over dinner with her or taken a stroll in the park with her. I don't know what her political views are, opinions are. So much of what we see is the image that's created and
Yeah.
also like what the person does,
Yeah.
in their real life,
Yeah.
that they're supporting a cause, like how Leonardo DiCaprio, he supports a cause, he speaks so much about the environment. And that makes me respect him a lot because
Yeah.
I like how I mentioned about the whole social media thing, that you connect to, what you resonate with, what the other person does.
Right.
So I resonate with the fact that, talking about environment, talking about saving the environment. I like that. So that makes me respect him more as an artist. And on top of that, he's a fantastic actor. So it's win-win. Um, the Woody Allen book was a very mindless, in the moment read that, like, I just picked it up and I was like, hey, I'm getting bored, let me read this. Which
But
was lying around
that's a
since a lot of
fantastic book,
years.
though.
It is a really good book. It is a
Yeah.
really good book, and it's a shame that all, like, whatever happened with Woody Allen. I really wish it's really heartbreaking that that's what it turned out to be. Even in India right now, we're seeing certain actors
Yeah.
tweet things which can lead to communal violence, and that is not okay. And I think that person's a fantastic actor.
Yeah.
There are certain films that I've seen of hers which have been like blown away by the intricacies of her performance, and I've been like, wow, there are
Right.
very few performers who are as good as this. And then the person goes and does this and has been doing things like this for a while, and I don't feel like I'm just put off. I
Yeah.
don't feel like supporting the art because I'm put off by the person.
Yeah.
So I feel like it goes really hand in hand for me.
Yeah.
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 So yeah.
You've written about this. You've spoken about this incident where a friend of yours, his mother would not serve him tea because she felt that tea would make his skin dark. And then when he asked for tea, she pointed to you and said, "You'll become her color." Uh, I mean, I hope I'm
You
saying this
are.
the right
Yeah.
way. Yeah.
You are. Yeah.
So would it be the reverse, that earlier you thought that maybe I'm not did you go through a phase where maybe you said, maybe I'm not good looking enough for the movies or something like that, or just like some kind of self-esteem issues happened?
That incident, so it was my very close friend, and he was Maharashtrian. He was Maharashtrian Brahmin. And he was really fair. And I was, like I said, I was majorly into sports and athletics. So I was just
Yeah.
out in the sun the whole day. Firstly, my complexion is beatish, and on top of that, I was out the whole day. So I was perpetually tanned those all my school years. And not that I cared, and I still don't care.
Right.
And his mother was this lady who was very obsessed with, like, she would keep telling him that don't go out in the sun, you're gonna get kala, as if like it's a horrible thing to be that. And she was also, like, obviously a little rude as well, a rude woman, because in front of me she was like he asked for tea one day, and she was just like, don't have tea, then you'll become, kala, like her. And I was just like I was awkward. It didn't hurt me or anything, because I even at that age I was just like, she's being ridiculous, like, who thinks like this in today's world? uh and I'd grown up in a family where we don't even think like this. I never even realized that skin color was such a big deal. So even till date, I don't think my skin color has ever bothered me or given me any insecurity whatsoever.
Right.
So thankfully, that's
Right.
never happened.
Right. No, but what you're speaking is also a larger phenomenon, because, for example, in Tamil and Telugu films, for the longest time, there's been this influx of heroines from, like, I'm generically calling it North India,
Mm.
but who are like literally glowing, fair complexion, the ones that you see in the ads, right? And they come and act as normal Telugu heroines, whereas the regular Telugu Tamil heroines, who are probably what you call wheatish or dusky or whatever, they have to literally scrounge for actual roles. So that's genuinely been a kind of a thing. So what your friend's mother felt is probably felt by a lot of the people in the industry as well, in these, at least in these two
Yeah.
industries. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's really unfortunate that there are people who look at things like that. And I'm glad a lot more is being spoken about colorism and how much it exists in our society now than before. So I'm hoping all these conversations lead to people's mindsets changing eventually. It's going to be a slow process because it's very deep rooted in our culture. Like, we ourselves are so racist. And then
Right,
we go abroad, and if somebody's racist to us, people are like, oh, how could he do that?
right,
No,
right.
you can't have that hypocrisy or double standards. So most Indians are obsessed with fair fair skin. which needs to change.
But one question I wanted to ask you is when you what you did in Majid Majidi's Behind the Clouds is fantastic role, by the way. I mean, I just the parts where you're inside prison and you say I don't want to die in prison. That was like, I mean, it was really, really very like quite affecting when I watched the movie. I love the movie as well. Uh, Now, it is possible for someone who looks like you to say, I'm de-glamming myself because you're kind of, playing that part. Whereas the reverse is not possible, because if a person, a heroine or an actor that actually looked like that, like a typical, that kind of a Tara kind of person, would not be able to get your Rajinikanth and Vijay and other kind of heroines. So that's kind of where I was leading to, because in the sense of obviously there's nothing that you can do about it, because this is not your issue at all. I mean, you can only say yes or no to a film based on whether or not you like the setup or the story or whatever. But that's what I was kind of getting to.
So because I started off my career in an industry like Malayalam, and my initial 4 projects were there. My third film was a film that I did with Fahadh, in which I played a tribal girl, and it was a fantastic role. Like, she was there; it was such a powerful role to play. She was the heart of the story. Whatever's happening with her, whatever's happening with the tribal community in Wayanad was the crux of the story. And unfortunately, we shot like 75% of the film, but it never released. It got into some financial issues, and it eventually got shelved. So that was my third movie. So I ended up doing 4 films there. And when your foundation is in an industry like that, you tend to grow up believing, like, I was, because Malayalam industry is so good at what they do, like as actors, you're supposed to look like the characters. Nobody's expecting you to look like this really fair tribal standing in a group of tribals which are darker skin. Nobody's expecting that, but that would, I'm sure, happen in Telugu.
Yeah.
So because I grew up there, I grew up with a very idealistic mindset that no matter how, it doesn't matter how you look, as long as you're playing the character really well. And I stuck to that. I stuck to that for all of my movies till Beyond the Clouds happened. And I realized that all of my contemporaries who were doing films parallelly, but who were doing, quote unquote, like the commercial glam movies, they were just getting more offers because they looked a certain way, because they were being presented a certain way.
Yeah.
And I was like, like, since 5 years, I've been so idealistic in my choices. And like, I'm seeing people who are doing ridiculous scripts, like, and actually ridiculous scripts, not like the out and out mindless ones. They were like getting so much further ahead in their careers. And then I was like, chalo, let me also try try doing some commercial work, what is deemed as commercial work. And I mean, the 2 films that I did in Tamil, and these are also movies that came my way, right? It's not like I got like other movies, it's not like I got a super deluxe and I said no. I would have loved to do it, but to get to a film like that, I feel you also need a certain level of exposure.
Definitely.
So that exposure, so commercial films give you that exposure, and that doesn't hurt. And I would have loved to be idealistic and just do the kind of movies and the kind of roles I believe in. But unfortunately, a lot of that didn't come my way. So I ended up doing some commercial films, which I had a great time doing. Like, I had fun doing it. I made some great friends. And now I have more offers than ever. So what does that tell you about the industry, right? What does that tell you about, like, I have more offers after doing a master than I have had after Beyond the Clouds. So it's
that's the way it works.
That's how things work.
Now, speaking of master, you say that Vijay is this fantastic co-star, and he is your 4 a.m. friend who loves Thai sadam, curd rice, but he also sleeps early. So I was like, how can you have a 4 a.m. friend who also sleeps early? What is this friendship?
I have seen him up till 4 a.m. and we are all, like, having one of our rap parties or anything like that. But I think more than the literal 4 a.m. friend, what I meant was the essence of it. That
Right.
he's always there. It would be a little inappropriate if I actually call him at 4 a.m. I don't think that is very professional.
Actually,
but
I've always wondered when people say 4 a.m. friend, has there actually been anybody in the history of the world that's called somebody at 4 a.m. and said, "Listen to me"?
I have called my friends when I've had like bad breakups or something. I've called them like, listen, are you free? Can you talk to me? I've been there, a couple of times. Bad breakup or just like a heavy day, could be with work, could be with anything, any anxiety inducing things.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so what I meant was more the essence of what it
Yeah.
means, that somebody who's always there for you, no matter what. And it's not like he's like that just with me. He is so available to his friends. It's not even funny. Like, he is, you call him anytime, you ask him for help, he is just there. And this is not something I can say about, I can't even say this about my regular friends. They act more busy than him. And I'm like, what are you so busy with? Here, he's like one of the biggest stars we've seen. So three of us have a group. It's Vijay sir, me, and we have, her name is Pallavi. She did the costumes for Master, and she works a lot on Vijay sir's films. And Pallavi doesn't, she's horrible with her phone. So she doesn't pick up her phone most of the time. And then I'll call Vijay sir and he'll pick up, and then we'll call her together and we'll be like, what is this? There are two actors who are so available. Whenever you call us, we pick up, and we call you and you're not picking up. So he's always there. And he's a very sweet person. Um, he's the most positive person I've seen. And he's not paying me to say any of this. This is 100% legit information. I've never seen one negative statement come out of that man's mouth. And whenever I see really successful people, be it actors, be it CEOs, be it spiritual leaders, anything across any arena, I always try to observe their mannerisms,
Right.
because so much of our, it's like that quote, so much of your success, the secret to your success lies in your daily routine.
Right.
It's what you do, it's not what you preach, it's what you follow. So I used to observe him a lot when I was filming for Master. And I realized that even when, for instance, there's a day when we're on set and we're ready and there's been some location issue and shoot has been cancelled, my reaction, or most people's reaction, would be that, why did I wake up so early? I'm ready. Obviously it's okay. It's okay that it's cancelled, but we would like still whine about it for a couple of minutes, and then move on. Then be like, "Acha, it's okay. See you tomorrow."
Yeah.
His reaction is just like, "It's okay, ma. Happens. It's very normal. It happens during shoots." And this is a small example, but this is his approach to life in general. I've never seen him say anything bad or negative. So there's a lot to learn from that.
Well, another huge star that you kind of worked with was Rajinikanth, because in that movie you were it was a tiny little role that you did, Peter. What was that like? Did you just like, oh, I'm in front of Rajinikanth and faint, or like you brought up in Bombay? Was he a big deal? What was it like?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a big deal, like all over India. Rajinikanth is considered even in Bombay as the biggest star of our times. So it was, I did pay it up just so that I could get a chance to share the screen with him. And I didn't like it was on my bucket list, act with Rajnikant. And I don't know if I would get an opportunity to do that again, right? So I was like, okay, it's a small role, but it's like there are a couple of scenes where I can have fun, like I can do something, a couple of impactful scenes,
Right.
and I get to share the screen with him. So let me do this. Why not? So it was a chance that I took, which in hindsight paid off. And how? I wouldn't be in Tamil industry today. Um, and I wouldn't have worked with Rajnikant in my first film and Vijay in my second film, if not for the choice that I made back then. But the first day that I saw him, it was I was with my mother and we were in Dehradun. And if the next day was my first day of shoot, it was the previous night. I'd gone to set to say hello to everyone, and they were like, "Let's introduce you to Rajni." So I think there were Like they were prepping everyone a day before so that we're not too intimidated performing with him on the day of the shoot. So he was in a room and we were waiting outside and he was done with his meeting and we walked in. And I mean, I'm not somebody who ever talks like this, but he just had this, he just lights up a room. He does. He's he's got this aura which is just so strong, so powerful. It's almost divine. And trust me, I don't use the words divine this callously. And this is not callous, obviously, but he's just got that. He's
Right.
got something, and you're just blinded by that for a second. And he was just like, "Congratulations on being a part of the movie. Very excited to work with you." And it started off on that note, and we shot for a few days. And I think he always looked at me as if, okay, new girl, like this is new girl who's doing this role. And then there was this one scene that I did in Beta, which was where my father passes away in the film, and I lash out at my brothers. And I didn't speak Tamil at all back then,
Right.
so it was like like a long monologue sort of thing. Yeah, it was a monologue that I'd had to learn, and I'd learned it some 1 month before shoot. Can you believe it? It was like I was so prepped. I think that's the most prepped I've been when it comes to dialogues. If you woke me up like, even 1 week before the shoot from my sleep and said, like, just give me my cue dialogue, I would have started with my monologue, because I don't want to make a fool of myself in front of everyone. So I was like, no, no, I need to get this right. So I did the whole thing, and they had calculated a little extra time for that shot because they were like, okay, like Hindi speaking girl, Malayalam speaking girl, whatever, she doesn't know Tamil. And they had a three camera setup, and we got it in one take. And as soon as the take got over, like, and Rajni sir was watching the whole thing, and he started clapping. So he started clapping, and everybody else started clapping. And from that days when we like he sort of, I could see him making an effort to like talk to me more. And since then we've been in touch. He called me after he watched Master, and honestly, I've had my best experience with the Tamil industry so far. I've only done one film in Hindi, so it's too soon to say. But I love that industry. I love all the people I've worked with. I've loved all of my co-actors. They have been so nice, so welcoming, so warm, that I'm really excited about all the films I'm about to do there.
Okay. Okay.
It's a great place to be.
All the films. So this is like a big list.
There is, but because of this pandemic now, it's tough to like announce, and everything's come to a halt. But it's pretty exciting stuff.
Can you use the little prefixes that our stars use, like Talapati and all that, and tell us who, maybe give us clues about who you're working with?
That
Or
is like giving it away. No? It's very obvious prefixes. It took me a while, though, I'll admit. It took me a while to get accustomed to the prefixes like Tala, Talaivar, Talapati. And I would get confused because I was like they have names and they also have these prefixes, which obviously are like, like fans have given it out of love. But it took me a while to like memorize
get used
it.
to which ones of them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you see yourself on screen, how do you process yourself? Do you say, like, let's take Master, right? You've shot for it in bits and pieces over a period of time, and then there's comes a time when you're actually seeing the whole film. Like, do you look out for your scenes and where you're saying, oh my god, I could have done this better, okay, I think I did that okay, like does it
Yeah,
does it
that's what
become
I
a,
do.
that's what you do?
That's what I do.
Okay.
It's very tough to watch it as an audience when you're watching it for the first time. In fact, I feel if as an actor, if we are a part of the movie, I have absolutely no objectivity left in me. And you're constantly analyzing like, oh, is my hair okay in this? Oh, was my hand gesture okay in that? Oh, why did I do this expression? I widened my eyes too much. So it's just like so much criticism running through the head that I just like, I don't like watching my own movies. It's tough. It's tough to watch your own films, at least for me.
No,
Yeah.
but quite a few actors say that. It's quite a few actors say that. It's quite excruciating
It's
to watch.
weird. It's very
Yeah.
weird to like hear our voice on screen, see ourselves on screen. I enjoy the process of doing it, do like feeling it and doing it a lot more than watching it. I prefer
Right.
not watching
Right.
it.
Right. Right. And you also brought up this topic of things not being under control right now because there's a lockdown and all that kind of stuff. So yes, you have a whole, had things not happened this way, Malavika Mohanan's life would have been very different right now, because you would have done a whole bunch of movies by now. Things would have progressed a whole bunch of very differently for you by now. Of course, it's not just you that's suffering; the whole world
Everyone.
is suffering. So it's not just your problem alone. But given that this is an interview about you, do you ever think about, like, do you ever have a thing about like handling positive versus negative emotions about the whole thing, about, sometimes you get down and say, you know, or do you just like try to look at the whole thing and say, listen, it's just what it is. We just have to get through this.
I feel like I get a lot more worked up when, like back whenever I've, a few years back when I didn't have a movie, say like I had a few months off, I didn't have any film happening at that point, and I would see people around me, contemporaries, colleagues, working back to back. That would really work me up. I would feel sad, I would feel anxious. But right now, the fact that everyone's stuck,
Right.
I find it very easy to deal with when everyone is stuck, because then what can you do? Because
Yeah.
because if it's not a pandemic, if it's a regular, like a pre-COVID time, a more normal time, as an individual, we always feel like there's something more we can do to make things happen. Like maybe I should hustle more. Maybe
Right.
I should like text more people. Maybe I should proactively try to network more and get work done. But I know right now that like all of that is moot. Right now we're fighting a, because it's a film related interview. I can say that we're fighting a bigger villain right now.
Yeah.
So that makes it really easy for me, and I can completely shut off the outside world. And I think what really helps is living with family.
Right.
That really keeps one, or like in this case, speaking for myself, it keeps me very grounded. And it's nice to, I feel like I would go into a very self-destructive zone if I lived alone.
Okay.
I just feel like, I mean, I've never tried it, but I feel like I have those tendencies. I completely lose track of time, lose track of my routine. Like if I lived alone, I would still be in bed, like binge watching something. But having a family, having a mother be like, oh, it's so late, come get up, have your coffee, then going sitting with family, having coffee, helping her out with chores. It gives a certain structure to the day, which is so important at times like this.
Right.
So that keeps me really rooted in terms of not losing my mental balance. And being with family is always great.
Right.
So I'm chilling right now and catching up on all the films and stuff.
Are you also kind of going through some of the scripts that you have and saying, this is, like kind of trying to prepare so that when the time comes,
I
you'll have,
am.
yeah,
I
yeah,
am. I am. In fact, I was supposed to dive into this Hindi movie that I'm doing with Excel Entertainment, directed by Ravi Udyawar. He directed Mom previously. So it's a film with Siddhant Chaturvedi, and like we're the primary cast. And we have been prepping for the film. We were supposed to start filming around this time, around first week of May. So I've my day is still busy. Like I still have my gym, and thankfully my building gym is, so it's a private gym, so it's open. So I have my training sessions going on. Then I'm also taking diction classes, Hindi diction classes, because they wanted a little. My character is she comes from a Urdu speaking background, so the
right.
Hindi is supposed to be a little more polished. So I have my diction classes. So I have things that I'm learning, or like constructively doing something throughout the day. So that's helpful.
Okay, great. So finally, one more time, do I get an answer or not about the films that you're going to do in Tamil with which heroes, or no?
um
Just say no, it's okay.
I mean, I would love to. I mean, one of them is a film that I'm really excited about, which is still in talks. Because of COVID, everything's gone for a toss, right? Everyone's dates,
Right, right,
everybody's stuck with
right,
their current projects. But if everything goes well, then I'll be collaborating with an actor that I've already worked with in Tamil, and it's a really good script, and it's also with a director that I've worked with. So it's an interesting combination, and it's a great role for the girl I mean, we can't say this for every Tamil movie, right? That it's a great role for a girl.
Yeah.
So, I really hope that that ends up happening because of the pandemic. Otherwise it was supposed to happen around last August. So I
Okay.
hope that happens. But apart from that, there are some other movies which are in talks as well. Right
Good.
now, it's the dates. Dates are
Yeah.
the problem.
Thank you for being such a good talker, and I hope that the films that you worked out, including the one that you gave this fairly, I think, workable clues about, I hope all of them work out well. So thanks again for being with Film Companion South, and all the best for everything.
It was lovely, lovely talking to you. And like I said, I love the work that you guys do. And I've been following Film Companion religiously since a few years. So it's happy to be here.
Thank
Finally.
you. Bye bye. Thanks.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.
Hi, this is Malvika Mohanan. And if you like this video, please subscribe to Film Companion South.